Hello, human beings. It's Jaffe. Good to see you. I will be out today. We're going to see the Padres play, me and the family. So I won't be doing a stream. If I do, it'll be later tonight. But I have a big fucking gabbing of games lined up for tomorrow, and then into the weekend as well. So I apologize for not streaming today if I don't. But I did want to at least hit a couple of topics as it relates to Redfield, because I know that's kind of what everyone's talking about, and frankly that's what's on my mind, along with a handful of other things we'll talk about tomorrow. Three things. Number one, Redfield. I've played now about 4 hours, give or take. Here's what I'll tell you. Impressions, review, whatever the fuck you want to call this. Impressions. How about that? People seem comfortable with that term. It's actually a very frustrating game because it's very clear there's something cool there. Like, the setting is great. The execution of the setting in terms of just the sense of the town, the attention to detail of building out that town. Like, there's clearly a lot of love that went into the set design, I guess you would call it, the art design, the nuance of really making this feel like a October-y East Coast. Fall has settled, and it's just a very quaint small town, and it's just got a lot of love in it that way, and I love that about this game. Like, what I will say, Redfall right now is probably one of the best new, even though it's very cliche, we've seen it in a million movies, but as it relates to video games, it's probably the best version I've seen of that kind of Castle Rock, Stephen King, small town, East Coast flavor. I love that. I want to spend more time in Redfall. It's a very cool place. So yay for that. Some of the gun design visuals are cool. The game itself, forget the bugs. There's so many things out there about bugs. On the scale is crazy. The art on some of these characters looks stupid. Bugs till the end of the universe. Is just terribly optimized game. The gameplay, though, is weird because if you just sort of play it as is at first, it's easy to go, yeah, it's kind of janky, yeah, it's rough around the edges, but it's kind of fun. It's fun to shoot the enemies. The vampire have some cool effects. Your effects are cool. I haven't played it with co-op yet. I have no intention to anymore. I was at first. Now I'm just like, I'm over it. But I like my character's abilities, the jumps and the umbrella shields that you can level up and absorb damage and send it back to enemies. There's some cool ideas here. And at first that was my thing. I'm like, yeah, it's janky, but it's kind of fun. It's kind of like in that same world of Dead Island 2, which is like, yeah, it's not going to win any awards, but it's kind of fun. But unlike Dead Island 2, which kind of is it knows what it is and it stays for the most part on its path. It's just a melee hack and slash 3D final fight for the most part. This has, and this is where it gets frustrating, this has these trappings of an arcade game. A number of things you can pick up, and that you can lockpick, and that you can grab a can of film at the movie theater and put it on the projector, and there's clearly multiple paths designed to deal with things in different ways. Like, you can go up through the vents or climb on the rafters, or you can go in shooting. It's got some of the bones of the Harvey Smith Deus Ex up until Dishonored 2 DNA, which I love. But then it almost feels like they didn't finish that, right? It's like none of the scenarios, at least so far, I can get my head around. Like, it's not like, okay, this is the movie theater, this is the scenario for the AI, this is how they function in the movie theater, and now I can put on my thinking cap about how do I want to approach the situation. A lot of times you hear enemies talking all over the place, and I'm playing with 3D audio. I'm like, I don't know where the fuck they are. So in most games like this, simulation games, you're like, okay, I hear a bad guy, he's just around the corner. Do I want to go in shooting? Do I want to go out and level up so I can upgrade, so I can turn invisible, or whatever the fuck, This just feels like all the systems got thrown in at the very end. The producer's like, I don't have time to edit today, so you have to enjoy that with me. That was a little bit of roll and popcorn. Come on. Again, editing is my friend. It feels like all these systems just got put in the pot at the end. The producer's like, look, door's closed. So we'll get what we get and we're shipping. And it just feels like the game could have been a really solid title up to maybe something special, but it needed a lot more time, because even that sense of like, going into an environment and understanding the lay of the land. I don't understand the AI in this game. Like the other day yesterday I went into the sporting goods store and enemies were everywhere. And then I went in and I shot an enemy and it alerted everybody. So then the next time I went in and I played it stealthily, but there was nobody in there at all. No matter what noise or what I broke or what I engaged with or buttons I pressed that sent out audio, there was nobody. Maybe there's logic. There's no clock as far as I can tell about time of day with vampires. I know it's more dangerous at night, but there's no real, I think all this was in the day in the sporting goods store, and there was no real sense of like, why are they here now? So it's just this, I hope I'm explaining it well. It's just this kind of, everything's kind of there and accounted for. Like you can get your milestone check from the publisher. Like, yes, we have the simulation systems in. Yes, we have this. Yes, we have this. And now we're at alpha and we need a year, 8 months, 6 months at least to really put all this together and, create connective tissue between the systems and really actually make this a game. This is not that. This feels, a lot of people say, oh, undercooked or not ready. If you ever want to see what a game usually looks like when it goes into alpha, it's this. You have little pops of, ooh, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. But it's not all, it's almost like you've put the cake in the oven and it's taken enough form that it's not wet anymore, but it's got some solidity to it. But it ain't a cake yet. You cut it open, it's all gooey inside. That's Redfall. That's Redfall. I don't plan on coming back to it at all. Which sucks because I love the world. But anyway, okay, moving on. Jez Corden is his name? Jez Corden. He writes for Windows Central. Which I assume is owned by Xbox. So I assume he's a touch biased. Maybe he's not. I don't fucking know. But I follow the guy. He's got a lot of good scoops and a lot of good insight. I got no beef with the dude. But he did put this out today. Sorry, but people calling for Phil Spencer's resignation are way out of their depth. Xbox is having record quarters repeatedly under his leadership. Is everything perfect? Obviously no, but please get some perspective. Well, look, if you think the reason people are calling for Phil's resignation or firing or just a change, even if it means Phil stays where he is, but he removes some people under him or he gets someone on board to help him do the things he can't do, which is what I would recommend because I like Phil Spencer. I think he's a very valuable piece of the Xbox puzzle. But if you think it comes from, Redfall, that's just, or more importantly, if you think it just comes from just out of your depth, people who know nothing about anything, it's like, dude, I worked for 20 something years in the industry. I've been saying since day one of Xbox's launch, when Xbox first party launched with no software, that there's a massive management problem going on. And then we saw it again with the Medium, which I know is not a first party title or even a second party title, but it should have been treated as such because it's all they had. And that launched buggy and undercooked and on and on and on and on. Okay. So to suggest that there is no smoke, let alone no fire, I think is a little bit condescending to people who aren't just raving fanboys. But I love my Xbox. I've said I play it a lot. I care about it. I care very much about Gamepass. I think it's a wonderful concept that could have wonderful positive disruption, as I've said many times before, to the industry. So, allow us to have a perspective, Jez, that is relatively logical. At this point, something's not working at Xbox. It just isn't. And to act as if it's, oh, everything's fine, or yeah, it's not perfect, but no, he says, get some perspective. I have plenty of perspective, sir. And my perspective suggests that there need to be some changes because they've had plenty of time to get their shit together and they haven't. For whatever reason, the motivation has not been there to actually do the work in terms of do the actions, make the changes that would result in a better first party lineup. So that's that. The last thing I'll say is the people who are now saying, see, Jeffy, I told you Game Pass doesn't work. The people that are correlating the failure of first party Xbox to deliver quality software, or even second party ish. Like if you look at something like Benedict Fox, I know they don't own Benedict Fox. I know they didn't fund it for the most part, other than paying to put it on Game Pass. But it's exclusive day one to Game Pass in terms of, everywhere else got to pay for it. It's janky. It's got some problems. You're one of the most wealthy companies on the goddamn planet, Microsoft. Could you not spare a couple of producers from Microsoft, third party XDev to go over there and say, hey, we know we don't own the title, but we want to help you make this the very best it can be because it's going to make Xbox Game Pass look good. The idea that this is a Game Pass subscription service problem is insane. To suggest the reason these games are not doing well is money, because that's basically what people are saying. Well, it's on Xbox. They don't spend as much money, so the shit can be janky. Nobody cares, blah, blah, blah. That's a ridiculous concept. If you look at other subscription services in film or music, but let's just take film because more people are familiar with that. There's a lot of subscription services that are in the toilet because they don't have anything good or the stuff is crappy. And then you've got things like HBO Max, depending on your mileage will vary on Disney, but Disney Plus, where people say, that represents the best of the best of this kind of thing, right? It's not about money in terms of production value. Look at Nintendo. Nintendo never can compete, or they could maybe, but they never try to even compete with Sony first party production value and costs. They compete with fun. They compete with IP, blah, blah, blah. Xbox could do the same thing. There's nothing inherent of a subscription service that says the game has to be bad. There may very well be something inherent in a subscription service that says if you're going to drop it day one, you're not going to want to spend on, not all, but most of your subscription day one games, $300-400 million. I get that. But to say that you can't make a fucking crackerjack lineup of amazing games that are, anywhere from $500,000 to $30 million and that can't be what Game Pass is to differentiate itself is a ridiculous statement that should suggest the people making that statement don't really understand video games, or they only perceive quality with production value, which is fine. But that's, all you have to do is look at Nintendo and go, okay, clearly there are people who love video games that don't need everything to be Naughty Dog level of spit and polish. So is it possible that Game Pass won't work? Absolutely, with this management. But I don't think that has anything to do with the pro or con of a subscription service. I think that argument is you're suggesting both those things are related, and there's no evidence of that. So, stop. Whatever. I'm going to go watch the Padres play. They're okay this season, I guess. I'm not a massive baseball fan, but I enjoy a baseball game, especially in the spring, going with the family. It's going to be fun. And then I'll be back hopefully tonight with the Gabbing games. Probably too late, probably to be too fried. Definitely tomorrow, though. I'm looking forward to it. There's a big fucking show. Lots to talk about in the industry right now. And I hope to see you soon. And in the meantime, I hope you're well. And I'll see you down the road. Be well, fellas. Bye.